know if you've ever worked for someone that when they speak, they tend to have this vibrato that just, it comes across as though there's no way they could ever be wrong. I mean, their thoughts, their ideas, they're so forthright, so bold, so direct. And yet, there are times that you know for a fact that what they're saying has no basis in truth. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not confident in what they're saying. It doesn't mean that they don't believe that you won't believe what they have to say. They're so confident in saying it, it's as if they believe that by saying it, they're actually changing the truth. Lying and leading are not a good mix. I'm not saying they don't happen. I'm just saying they're not a good mix. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast, and I find it almost ironic, especially in the news media, when you watch different political pundits. Some have misspoken in their role in leadership. They maybe said something of maybe a week ago or a month ago or a year ago or an election cycle ago, and they made a bold statement, a powerful stand on an issue. And then realized along the way, I was on the wrong side of that. I misunderstood it. I spoke too soon. I didn't have all the facts yet. And now they have to kind of backpedal to say, I thought I agreed with that, but now that I study it a little more, I realize I don't agree with that. That is a different thing than just outright lying. See, the challenge with the willingness to lie is that a leader who's willing to lie is a leader who doesn't have an anchor in the truth, and they really don't care what you think about their process or their thoughts. What they want to do is to boldly proclaim what they believe will get them the success at the time. It'll close the deal. Or you've probably met a salesperson like that. They'll tell you whatever they've got to tell you about the product or service they're trying to sell you on because they want to close the deal. Whatever it takes to get the contract, to get the deposit, to get the deal done. And they're really not deeply concerned with whether or not they can deliver on what they said. They're really not concerned with whether or not you're going to be ultimately happy with what you've purchased. What they're concerned with, number one, is closing the deal, which means ultimately they're only concerned about themselves. See, leaders who take that vantage point, that take that perspective and say, I'm really mostly concerned with the fact that I'm going to win the argument, or I'm going to get my way, or I'm going to close the deal, or I'm going to get the vote. Those are people who are not deeply concerned about the outcome or the results, or how those results, how that outcome impacts everybody else involved in the process. Whether you're talking about constituents, or you're talking about polling results, or you're talking about economies or tax bases, none of those things are relevant. What's relevant right now is that I say the thing, I make the declaration as boldly and forthrightly as I can that will win me the vote. I know that I can work out the details in the end as long as I can stay in office. But if I lose office, if I lose my position, if I lose the job as CEO, if I lose the position as chairman of the board, if those things get away from me, then I don't have the power to gain wealth like I do now. I don't have the power to get other people on my side. I don't have the power to blame somebody else when it goes awry. Look, if you're a leader and you rely on your willingness and ability to straight up tell a lie, to say what you know is factually untrue, you're not a real leader. I mean, you do have influence, and that's leadership, but you're not a good leader. You might be a good liar, but you're not a good leader. If the truth and your statements have no relationship with each other, you have a problem. And trust me, I know there are politicians on both sides of the fence, right down the middle and to the far extremes, on every aspect, who have said what they know to be untrue. If you're that kind of leader, you're not a good leader. You might be a good liar. I want to challenge you, if you have a role of leadership of any size, any capacity, make a way that you become confident in the truth. Not your truth, not some version of truth, not some variation of truth, but study the content, study the idea, study the material, study the evidence until it's irrefutable in your mind. It's irrefutable and supported by many other people. Not people with an agenda, but people with facts. And then boldly proclaim that truth. Stand behind what you believe. Now, I understand. When we saw COVID come down the pike, for an example, over a year ago, there were things we just simply didn't know. Hundreds of ideas flying in from all kinds of directions, some intentional misinformation and some good information that got caught up in the wash. But then there were some just outright lies. Just straight up, I knew it wasn't true when I said it, but I had another agenda and truth wasn't in it. That's just a fact. And we have evidence to prove now that what they said then, they knew wasn't true when they said it. We need to find ourselves as leaders in that place where we've done the homework and we've spoken the truth. We need as leaders not to be manipulating people to get our own gain, to be not manipulating people to build our own income or our own influence. We should be committed as leaders to telling the truth. Do your homework. But also be willing to say, I was wrong. I thought I had all the data, I thought I had all the facts, and I was wrong. And I didn't intend to mislead you, and I'm telling you now, I was wrong. That's almost as powerful as telling the truth in the first place, to be able to admit that you were wrong, to take your lumps for being wrong and allow the truth to remain. But good leaders are not good liars, and good liars can't be good leaders. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day. Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.